Hello everyone. Welcome back to Money Conversations with Magical. Today I'll talk about something that affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. I will be talking about inflation. From the cost of groceries to the cost of housing, inflation plays a huge role in our daily lives. Let's dive in and understand what inflation is, what causes it, and how we can protect ourselves against the impact of inflation. So, what is inflation? Inflation is the rate at which the level prices of goods and services rise, and subsequently the spending power falls. Inflation is measured in CPI, or what is called the Consumer Price Index, that measures the rate of the prices of goods and services over a period of time. When inflation rises, the money loses value, and then the price of goods and services increase. This therefore means that the same money can only buy fewer goods and services as opposed to what it could have bought before inflation. So, what are the causes of inflation? There are a few factors such as demand pull, there is cost push, as well as monetary policy. So demand pull, when the demand of goods and services increase, when the demand is higher than the supply, that situation causes inflation, causes the price of goods and services to rise. Picture an event that has tickets oversubscribed. That situation causes the tickets to automatically, the price of the tickets to go up. That's a good example to understand the demand pull. So when the demand is higher than the supply, the price of goods and services increase. The second one is cost push. When the cost of production rises. Cost of production could be something, the cost of labor, raw materials. So when the cost of production goes up, the cost of goods and services rises. So because what happens is that the businesses then pass on the cost to the consumers. The third thing is the third effect, what causes inflation, is monetary policies. Central banks affect inflation. They have an influence in inflation. If they supply more money into the economy, then it means that we have more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. And this then leads to a rise in price of those goods and services. So then, having known what are then the effects of inflation in our life? The first thing is that inflation reduces the purchasing power. When inflation is high, you can only buy fewer goods and services with the same amount of money. So it reduces your power to purchase. The second thing is that on the savings, inflation erodes the value of your savings. If inflation is high, then the money you have in your savings account is actually not of that value. So for instance, if you have 100,000 Kenya shillings in your savings account, and that savings account is not giving you a return that is equivalent or more than the inflation rate, then that money is of less value. The other thing is on investment. Investments are affected by inflation, and especially if these investments are of fixed interest, where you have an investment giving a specific fixed rate, because then when inflation is higher than that rate, your money or your investment is not able to keep pace with that inflation. So inflation then affects your ability to purchase things, it affects the value of your savings, it affects the value of your investment. So having understood what inflation is and what causes it, how can we then protect ourselves from the effects of inflation? Number one, you can choose to invest in inflation-resistant assets. These are assets like real estate, things like commodities. Commodities are things like oil, precious metals, could be grains, or you can also invest in stocks that have the power, the pricing power. These are stocks that mostly deal with consumer goods, because then what happens is that during inflation they pass on the cost to the consumers. So those are examples of inflation resistant. Hey, some people are blasting music out here. So those are examples of inflation resistant assets. You can also protect yourself by maybe revisiting your investment portfolio and changing it. So you can choose assets that perform well during times of high inflation. The other thing you can do is create an emergency fund. So having a savings cushions you, an emergency savings, it cushions you during times of financial storms such as inflation. So those are some of the ways that you can protect yourself from the effects of inflation. So ladies and gentlemen, inflation is a very complex topic that affects all of us, but by understanding what causes it and the impact it has on our lives, you can take certain steps to help you mitigate the effects of inflation. So remember to invest wisely and create an emergency fund for yourself. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.